Oh, what a beautiful day in Central Park, New York City. A little wind, and the birds are soaring high. Water is brisk, even though I didn't touch it. And I'm gonna share with you an incredible story I heard. So I'm coming now from a 5-day conference. It's Chaim Alevsky here, Chabad of the West Side, here in Central Park, New York City, on the 3rd day of Kislev, the month of Hanukkah. We're getting ready for Hanukkah on live, Hanukkah on ice at New York City Central Park Walmart Rink. That's just a quick plug for my wife, because she's working really hard on that. Hanukkah on ice, NYC.com. Get your tickets now. Okay, Sarah, am I good? Okay, so now we're coming from a 5-day incredible, inspiring conference of an annual international gathering of Chabad Shluchim from all over the world. Some of the things our sessions are recorded. What I'd like to share with you is something that I heard on Friday night, in which we have this big Farbrengen, or many Farbrengens, after the Shabbat dinner, where various rabbis sit and inspire and relate stories. And one of them was, one of my favorites is Rabbi Slabatitsky from somewhere in Europe, who's always got incredible inspiration and stories. So he told probably 100 stories. Here's 2 of them, or one, but that becomes 2, about the Rebbe's response to somebody. So this Professor Biderman in Israel is a professor of religion, and he was an expert in all the religions of the world. So he once went to visit his mentor. This Biderman himself was not an observant Jew. We can call him an atheist, if you can call a Jew an atheist, I don't know. But he didn't proclaim to believe in any specific religion or faith. And his mentor was an avowed atheist, who was also a Jewish professor. His mentor was nearing his end, and Biderman, he was not feeling well. Biderman went to visit him, and his mentor, this professor of religion, also asks him to bring a book off the shelf. And he takes the book, he opens it up, he says, "Look," and he starts crying. And he says, what's so moving, what's going on? And he says, "Read." And Biderman reads a letter that this mentor of his wrote to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the letter was very dry and straightforward. No punches pulled. The letter says something like this: "Dear Rebbe, it's understandable to me why the other rabbis, the other Jewish leaders, try to influence and convince their congregations and the Jewish community to follow the Jewish traditions and rituals, because they just don't know better. You know, they're not that educated in the rest of the world. But you, Lubavitcher Rebbe, it's unbecoming of you to try to inspire Jewish people to participate and live by these old, ancient, outdated rituals and beliefs. You know better. You're a scientist. You have 7 degrees. You're an engineer, a philosopher, a physicist, a doctor. You have people from all over the world in all of these disciplines coming to ask advice of you. You're a genius. You're so wise, beyond the average human capacity. Why do you believe or tell these other people the Jewish people to believe in the rituals of tefillin and mezuzah, taking some scrolls, black leather straps, putting them. What good does that really do? You know better, Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he sent off this letter. What do you think the Rebbe's response was? I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. What would you respond? So, the Rebbe's response to this professor was, at the bottom of the letter, the professor signed his name. The Rebbe circled his name and said, and wrote, from the sound of your name, we can follow your name's lineage, your ancestry, to either a very prominent Litvish family of great rabbis or a very prominent lineage of Vizhnitz Hasidim of great prominence. Which family do you belong to? Which is it? Which side do you come from? The Litvish side or the Vizhnitz side, or the Hasidic side? The Rebbe prefaced that by saying, I was very pleasantly touched by the openness of your letter. That was the whole response. I was pleasantly touched by the openness of your letter, by your direct and straightforward letter. And then he went on to ask him about where his lineage is from. That was the whole story. The man, the old professor, in his final days, weeks, months, or years, I don't know what it was, but explained, he said, the Rebbe took the air out of my tires. I was trying to confront the Rebbe being combative, and the Rebbe just returned me to my roots, and he was grateful for that. That was the story that I heard that I wanted to share with you. I'll share one more part. Another little story that happened with this Biderman himself that he related, that this professor, as he was researching all the different religions, he wanted to know, he had some deep questions comparing all the religions of the world, and he traveled the world to try to find answers. And when he came to America, he came to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, among many others. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was a great Hosek, halachic, the foremost halachic authority in our generation, unquestionably. And he went to him and he asked him his questions. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein said, the only one who can answer your questions are the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He went to Rabbi Soloveitchik, who was also one of the foremost great leaders and philosophers of our generation. And he also said, the one who can answer your question is the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and he laid out all his questions about the deep questions of comparing the different religions and what are the root differences between them, etc., etc. The Rebbe said, Professor Biderman, I will be happy to answer all of your questions on one condition. I'll bet you'll never guess this one. See, while he was telling the story, I thought the Rebbe would say, you put on tefillin or something like that, do a mitzvah, keep Shabbos. This one threw me off a little bit too. He says, I'll answer all your questions on one condition. He says, tell me. He says, after I answer all your questions, after our conversation, you go to the mikvah. You dip in the purifying holy waters of the mikvah to cleanse yourself of this conversation. Interesting. So I've heard that before in different situations where The Rebbe said when we even talk about matters that are not regularly supposed to be talked about in our tradition, one of the ways to purify ourselves is literally to go to the mikveh. Anyway, that's the story for today. God bless you all. And on a personal note, grandson number 2 was born to me, my wife, through our daughter Chana Mushka and Chalim Mishulavin yesterday on Beis Kislev. And we're very grateful to God. And you could see the pictures up above, probably. God bless you all. Get out, man. It's a beautiful day. Get some sun and exercise.